Today we are going through all 8 FIFA World Cup champions, counting up from the least to most World Cups. Number 8, Spain in 2010. 1 goal per match, every match, the entire tournament. Spain did not dazzle. They did not entertain in the traditional sense. What they did was hold the ball for so long that the other team eventually forgot what it felt like to have it. Xavi and Iniesta in midfield, passing to each other with the calm energy of 2 people doing a crossword puzzle, while the opposition ran themselves into exhaustion trying to intervene. The final against the Netherlands, a match so aggressively physical that it produced 14 yellow cards. The Dutch had clearly decided that if they could not outplay Spain, and they would attempt to physically dismantle them instead. That did not work either. Iniesta scored in the 116th minute of extra time. It was 1 goal, and Spain won. Number 7, England invented football. They sat down, wrote the rules, handed the sport to the world like a gift, and in return, the world has spent over a century absolutely humbling them at it. They have won the World Cup exactly once, at home in 1966, and the goal that won it for them may not have actually been a goal. It was extra time. Jeff Hurst shoots. The ball hits the underside of the crossbar and bounces down. The question was that did it cross the line? Gets referred to the linesman, a Soviet official named Tofik Bakramov, who says yes, goal given. The West Germans disagree, immediately and loudly, with considerable evidence. Modern technology applied to the footage decades later produces the most diplomatically unhelpful conclusion possible. Genuinely inconclusive. The goal stood. England won 4-2. Jeff Hurst scored a hat-trick, the only one in World Cup final history. Bobby Moore lifted the trophy. The country celebrated like it had never seen anything like it because it had not, and, as it turned out, would not again. Number 6. Uruguay is a country of 3.5 million people, smaller than many cities, and they have won the World Cup twice, including the first one ever played, which they hosted in 1930 and won comfortably, beating Argentina in the final, while the crowd had to be controlled by armed police. Normal Saturday afternoon in Montevideo. But the 1950 title is the one that football genuinely cannot move past. Brazil is hosting. The Maracanã in Rio de Janeiro has 200,000 people inside it. Brazil needed only a draw against Uruguay in the final match to win the whole tournament. They score first. 200,000 people are already planning the parade route. Then Uruguay equalized. Then in the 79th minute, a winger named Alcides Gigia cut inside and scored. Uruguay 2, Brazil 1, and full time. 200,000 people go silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence where you can hear the stadium itself breathing. Every journalist who was there describes it the same way, like the air left the building and took the sound with it. Brazil called it the Maracanazo, the catastrophe at the Maracanã. They were so traumatized by it that they changed their white kit to yellow, specifically to avoid ever having to look at that color again. LOL Brazil. Number 5. France have won the World Cup twice, both times at home. Both times with a squad that looked to everyone paying attention, like it was built from pieces of the entire world, rather than just one country. In 1998, France hosted. Zinedine Zidane, son of Algerian immigrants, the best player of his generation, a man who celebrated his own goals with the emotional energy of someone who just remembered to take the bins out, scores twice in the final against Brazil. Headers, both of them. France won 3-0. Zidane is carried off the pitch. The country has a public breakdown in the best possible way. 20 years later, 2018, Russia. A 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe becomes only the second teenager in World Cup final history to score, after Pelé in 1958. France beat Croatia 4-2. Pogba scores, Griezmann scores, Mbappe scores. The trophy goes back to Paris, and France immediately starts preparing to be insufferable about it, which is their right. Number 4. Argentina's 3 World Cup titles come with 3 completely different flavors. One is complicated, one is Maradona, and one made half the planet cry in a parking lot in Qatar at 11 o'clock at night. In 1978, Buenos Aires. Argentina wins the World Cup on home soil, while a military dictatorship running the country uses the tournament as a live advertisement for the idea that everything is normal and Argentina is a perfectly fine place. It was not a perfectly fine place. Thousands of people are being disappeared by the government. The regime wants the world looking at football, not at that. But Argentina won a match against Peru, which they needed to win by 4 goals, and won 6-0, has been the subject of questions that have never received satisfactory answers. The trophy exists. So does everything surrounding it. And in 1986, during Mexico, this is Maradona's tournament, not Argentina's tournament. Maradona's. The quarterfinal against England. In the 51st minute, Maradona rises for a ball near the penalty area and punches it into the net with his left hand. The referee, standing further away from the goal than the goalkeeper, does not see it. Maradona runs away celebrating. When asked about it afterwards, he says, with the confidence of a man who has already decided the story, that it was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. England are still annoyed about this. They will be annoyed about it forever. 4 minutes later, in the same match, Maradona picks up the ball inside his own half and runs 60 meters past 5 defenders and the goalkeeper to score what is still voted the greatest goal ever scored. The commentator, losing his mind in real time, repeats, "What a goal! What a goal! What a goal!" 11 times. Nobody blamed him. Argentina won the tournament. Maradona won the tournament. Those are 2 different sentences that happen to have the same result. Third time in 2022, Messi is 35 years old. 20 years of people using the World Cup as a weapon against him, as proof that he was great, but not the greatest, gifted but not a winner, Barcelona's player but not Argentina's. The final against France is 3-3 after extra time, the greatest World Cup final ever played. Argentina win on penalties. Messi lifts the trophy. An entire nation stops moving in the streets of Buenos Aires. Messi points to the sky, the way he has been pointing since he was 10 years old, and scored his first official goal the day his grandmother died. The argument was over. It was probably always over. It just took a piece of silverware in Qatar to make everyone admit it. Number 3. Italy have won the World Cup 4 times, and if there is a common thread running through all 4 titles, it is this. Italy tend to win at exactly the moment when the situation around them is at its most chaotic, the football is at its least pretty, and nobody is expecting anything from them whatsoever. 1934 and 1938. Back-to-back titles under a coach named Vittorio Pozzo, still the only manager in history to win the World Cup twice. In 1982. This is the one. Italy drew all 3 group stage matches and made it through on goal difference alone. Their striker Paolo Rossi has not scored in any of them, which is a problem because Rossi is their striker. He was also banned from football for 2 years over a match-fixing scandal not long before the tournament, so confidence in him is not exactly at historic highs. Then Rossi scores 9 goals in 3 matches. He gets a hat trick against Brazil in a match that eliminates the best attacking side in the tournament. He scores in the semi-final. He scores in the final against West Germany. Italy win 3-1. Goalkeeper Dino Zoff, 40 years old, lifts the trophy. In 2006, Italy won the World Cup while their domestic football league is being investigated for corruption. Referees allegedly manipulated. Clubs stripped of titles. The whole infrastructure of Italian football collapsing into a legal and ethical investigation that is making international headlines. The players are aware of all of this. They win the tournament anyway. The final against France ends with Zinedine Zidane, in the absolute last match of his entire career, walking up to Marco Materazzi and headbutting him in the chest in extra time. What Materazzi said to cause this has been reported, denied, speculated about, and debated for 18 years. Zidane is sent off. Italy win on penalties. 4 titles. Number 2. Germany was the most consistent nation in the World Cup history, and they will absolutely tell you about it, how to paint, if you give them the slightest opportunity. More finals than anyone. More semi-final appearances than anyone. 4 titles across 6 decades. 1954, 1974, 1990, and 2014, with an entirely different German generation doing the work each time. 1954 is called the Miracle of Bern, West Germany, a country literally still rebuilding from the ruins of the Second World War, faces Hungary in the final. Hungary at this point have been unbeaten for 4 years. They beat England 7-1. They beat West Germany 8-3 in the group stage of the exact same tournament. West Germany beat them 3-2 in the final. For a country that had spent the last decade as a byword for catastrophe, winning something, anything, in front of the world mattered in a way that went well beyond 90 minutes of football. In 1974, at home. 1990 in Italy, organized and relentless. And then 2014 in Brazil, which produced one of the strangest and most uncomfortable evenings in the tournament's history. Germany beat Brazil 7-1 in the semifinal. In Brazil. At the Mineirão Stadium, Brazil, 5 goals down at halftime, had players crying on the pitch before the match was finished. 4 days later, Germany beat Argentina in the final. 4 titles, tied with Italy. An argument about which of the two deserves more respect from this list that will never actually be settled because both sides have a reasonable case and neither will concede anything. Number 1, Brazil have 5 World Cup titles, more than any nation in football history. Germany and Italy have 4 each, which sounds impressive until you remember that Brazil have 5, and that the gap between 4 and 5 in this context is the same as the gap between winning everything and then winning it again just to make a point. In 1958, in Sweden, a 17-year-old named Pelé scores 6 goals, including 2 in the final, and then collapses in tears at the whistle, completely overwhelmed, unable to process being a world champion at an age when most people are still arguing with their parents about homework. The footage of those tears has been replayed for 66 years because it is one of the most honest things ever captured on camera. Next, 1962 in Chile. Pelé gets injured in the second match and misses the rest of the tournament. Brazil won it without him. That sentence alone tells the story of how deep that squad was. Then 1970 in Mexico. The greatest team ever assembled. Pelé, Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivellino, Carlos Alberto. Every match was won. 19 goals were scored. The final against Italy ended by 4-1. FIFA, having decided that winning 3 times qualifies a nation for permanent ownership, handed Brazil the Jules Rimet Trophy, the original Golden World Cup, to keep. Brazil put it in a cabinet at their football federation in Rio de Janeiro. It was stolen in 1983 and never recovered. Somewhere out there, the original World Cup trophy is presumably sitting in someone's attic or already melted down. Football history is occasionally tragic in the most mundane ways. 4th time in 1994 in the United States. A different kind of Brazil, organized, cautious, built on defensive solidity, rather than the attacking freedom of the teams before them. Romario and Bebeto up front, their famous cradle-rocking goal celebration, both men miming rocking a baby, spontaneously in front of the entire planet, becoming the image of the whole tournament. Brazil beat Italy on penalties, first World Cup final ever decided that way. 5th time in 2002 in Japan and South Korea. Ronaldo, the Brazilian one, the original, not the other one, returns 4 years after the 1998 final, where he suffered a seizure the night before the match, was taken off the team sheet, and then put back on it, played badly, and watched France lift the trophy in the same stadium while standing on the same pitch. Nobody has ever fully explained what happened that night in Paris. Ronaldo never discussed it in detail. In 2002, he scored twice against Germany in the final, runs to the corner flag, laughs, not a polite laugh, a full, genuine, this is what I was owed laugh, whatever 1998 cost him, and it clearly cost something significant, 2002 gave it back. Since then, Brazil haven't won a single World Cup.